we are going to study on the vibration of continuous systems. Previously we have studied about the single degree of freedom systems, 2 degrees of freedom system and multi degree of freedom system. So you have seen previously we have modeled all the systems like this spring and mass systems. So this is the mass attached to this spring. So these are the springs. So we are modeling the stiffness of the system by the springs and this mass. So already we have studied about the single degree of freedom system. So this is a single degree of freedom system. So any machines you can model as a single degree of freedom systems with the help of spring and mass and damper. So when this system is subjected to some force, so when it will vibrate, you can model this as a single degree of freedom system with force vibration, and to observe that vibration already you have seen. So you can add another spring and mass system to it. So the secondary spring and mass systems you can add such a way that the frequency of excitation of the external or the disturbing force should be equal to the natural frequency of the secondary system. So in the secondary system, let the mass is m and the stiffness is k, or mass is m2 and stiffness is k2, then the frequency of excitation should be equal to root over k2 by m2 to observe all the vibration of this primary system. So this is a 2 degrees of freedom systems, and we have studied that this 2 degrees of freedom system can be modeled by a 2:2 mass matrix and 2:2 stiffness matrix and 2:2, so 2 row and 1 column force vector. So you can write the equation motion of a 2 degrees of freedom system by using this equation mx double dot plus kx, or if you have damping present then you can add this damping matrix also equal to f. And in case of a multi degree of freedom system, so m will be replaced by the n cross n. So where n is the degrees of freedom of the system, and this k matrix also will be n cross n matrix, and c is also a n cross n matrix, and you have this f which is a n cross 1 vector. So in this way already you have seen to model a discrete mass system. So you can have a mass matrix, stiffness matrix and damping matrix and a force vector, but always you cannot model all the systems as this discrete mass and damper system. Let us take this system, this beam. So this beam initially you have modeled this as a, so this is a beam. So if I will take a beam, cantilever beam, let me take a cantilever beam. So in case of a cantilever beam, this side is fixed and one side is fixed and other side is free. So this is the figure of a cantilever beam, and I have attached a mass here. So this is a cantilever beam with a mass. So its vibration, so you are considering this equivalent to a spring and damper system previously. So you are considering this as a spring and damper system with stiffness k and mass m. So mass of this tip mass you are taking m, and the stiffness you are calculating for this system. So in this system, you know, if you are applying a load W, then it will have a deflection at this end delta equal to W L Q by 3 EI. So you found this stiffness K equal to W by delta. So this will be equal to W by W L Q by 3 EI. So this becomes W cancel, so it becomes 3 EI by LQ. So you have taken this stiffness and this mass and calculated the natural frequency of this system, but you may note that this natural frequency is only the approximate natural frequency, because you have not considered all the properties of this system. So this whole system can be modeled as infinity number of mass and spring. So if there are infinity number of mass and spring in this system, this continuous system, then you have infinity number of natural frequency associated with this continuous system. So you should not model it as a single spring and mass system and found the natural frequency or find the response of the system. So, to model it completely, you should model this as a continuous system, and to model and in today class we will see how to model this as a continuous system. And also you may have some rod. So, in this rod, so it is subjected to some torsional vibration. So, when it is subjected to this rotation or torsional vibration, then we can also find the vibration or the response of the system. So, in this case, initially when we have studied about the wheeling of shaft, we have modeled this as a single degree of freedom system, but now we should model this as a continuous system and study its vibration. So, this, and also we may take the longitudinal vibration of a beam or rod. So, in this rod I can find the longitudinal vibration of this rod also. So, by fixing one end and by applying a load at the other end, by fixing one end, I can find the longitudinal vibration of this rod. In case of longitudinal vibration, the vibration will take place along the length of this rod, and in case of transverse vibration, the vibration will take place in a transverse direction, that is perpendicular to the direction of this rod. So, either it will vibrate in this direction or it may vibrate in this direction. So, depending on the radius of gyration, the vibration will take place. So, let us take this simple aluminum beam. So, in this case the vibration, so if I will push it, the vibration will take place in this transverse direction, and if I will take this way and push it, it will not vibrate. So, you can note that in this direction its inertia is more compared to in this direction. That is why in this direction it has a vibration, but in this direction when I am rotating this thing or I am keeping it in this, there will be no vibration in this direction, but it will have a vibration in this lateral direction. So, this lateral direction it has a vibration, but in this direction there is no vibration, and in the longitudinal direction also there is no vibration. So, the vibration takes place in a direction in which, so it has least radius of gyration or least moment of inertia or least resistance is given by the system. So, we can, today class we will going to study about this type of continuous system. So, we may take the case of the strings also. So, already you have seen in musical instrument the strings, or the strings you can find as cable in the electrical wire. So, those string systems also we can consider them as a continuous system, and we will study that thing. So, there are many different types of continuous systems also. So, in some systems you may have, so you can take a plate type of system. So, in case of a plate, so it is a two-dimensional system. In this case, the vibration may takes place in x direction, or the vibration may takes place in y direction also. So, if you have a thick plate, the vibration may takes place in x, y and z direction, but in case of a thin plate, the vibration, you can assume that the vibration will takes place in this z direction, and this transverse vibration taking place in z direction will vary along the x axis, and also it will vary along the y axis, but we are limiting our study to only one dimensional systems like string. So, we will study about the vibration of the string, and we will study also the longitudinal vibration of rod, and lateral vibration of beam, lateral or transverse vibration of beam, and vibration of beams. Also, we are going to study the torsional vibration of rod, So in these cases we can see, so all these cases are single degree of or one dimensional system, and we are going to find the equation motion in all these cases, and we are going to study the response in these cases. So as you can see in these cases, in this continuous system, the vibration will depends on two parameters, unlike in case of the spring mass system. So in the spring mass system, the response of a point only depends on the time and the initial conditions, initial velocity and displacement of the system. But in this case, in case of the continuous system, let us take this beam. So in this case, the vibration will depends on the position. That means we have to find at which position we are interested to find the vibration, whether it is taking place at this end, whether it is taking place at the middle or at this point. So it depends on the position of the system, position or location of the points on this beam, and also it depends on the time. So it depends on two parameters. One is the location or the space parameter or the space coordinate, and second one is the time. In case of discrete system, it depends only on time, but in this case of continuous or distributed mass system, it depend on the space coordinate and the time. And we can find, so using these two coordinates, that is the space coordinate and time, so we have to develop the equation motion. So you have seen in case of discrete systems, so the equation motions are written in terms of ordinary differential equations, and later it was converted to the eigenvalue problems by using matrix algebra. So we have converted that thing, the equation motion, to a set of algebraic equations, and solving those algebraic equation or finding the eigenvalues of the system, we have determined the natural frequency of the system. But in this case, in case of continuous system, as it depends on two parameters, that is the space coordinate and the time. So in this case, the equation motion will be written in terms of partial differential equations. So in place of ordinary differential equation in case of discrete system, in case of distributed or continuous systems, we will have partial differential equations, and these equations, or we have to find the eigen functions in this case. In case of discrete system, we have found the eigen values for the natural frequencies, or the square of the natural frequency were the eigen values of the system, but in this case we have to find the eigen functions of the system. Also you can note that in case of continuous system, it depends on the boundary conditions. So how the boundaries are maintained, the equation motion depends on that. So in case of a cantilever beam, when one end is fixed and other end is free, so the boundary conditions will be, so in the free end, the boundary conditions will be the bending moment and the shear forces are 0, and in the fixed end the displacements and the slopes are 0. So when it vibrates, so the displacement will be like this. So the displacements and slopes are 0 here, and the bending moment and shear forces are 0 at the other end. So you have seen there are two different types of boundary conditions available. One is the geometric boundary conditions, and the second one is the forced or the natural boundary conditions, natural or force boundary condition. So in case of geometric boundary conditions, the boundary conditions is of geometric type, that is it is the displacement or slope. In case of natural or force boundary conditions, the boundary conditions will be force in nature, force and movement may be there. So force, bending, so in this case of cantilever beam, so it is shear force and bending moments are 0, but in the fixed end the slopes and the displacements are 0. Similarly, in case of a simply supported beam, so this is a simply supported beam, so the beam is simply supported at both the ends. So here the deflection. So from your strength of material you have read about the deflection of this simply supported beam. So in this case you can see that the displacement, so at these ends the displacements are 0, at the support points the displacements are 0, but the slopes are not 0 and the bending moment is 0. So the bending moment and the displacements are 0, but the slopes are not 0. So in this case, in case of simply supported beam, so you have a mixed type of boundary conditions. So both, it contains both geometric boundary condition, that is the displacement is 0, and the force boundary condition or the natural boundary condition, that is the bending moment equal to 0. So displacement equal to 0, in this case displacement equal to 0, and second is bending moment is 0. And already you know that the displacement, if I am writing the displacement equal to y, then the bending moment will be proportional to d square y by dx square, or you know this bending moment can be written as ei d square y by dx square. And if I am writing this y is the deflection of this beam, already I told you that this y is a function of x, so it is a function of x and t. So this d square y by dx square I will replace it by partial differential instead of writing the ordinary differential. So actually it should be ei del square y by del x square. So instead of writing d square y by dx square, one should write it del square y by del x square, as y the deflection is a function of x and t. So in contrast to the discrete systems you have seen, so if I will distinguish between the discrete system and the distributed mass system, so this is discrete system, vibration of discrete system, and continuous systems we will see. So the difference you can note. So first difference is the equations can be written in case of discrete system as a ordinary differential equation, but in this case you can write this as partial differential equation. So you have, in case of discrete system, so you know the number of degrees of freedom of the system, and you can write your natural frequency, the natural frequency or the eigen values are discrete. So discrete number of natural frequency or a definite number of natural frequency. So definite number of natural frequency you can get in this system, but in case of continuous system, so you will get infinity number of natural frequency. So in this case, in case of continuous system, it depends on the boundary conditions, the system depends on the boundary conditions, but in this case no boundary condition is required. So in this case no boundary conditions are required, but in case of continuous system you require boundary conditions to find the response of the system. So now we will consider different cases. So first let us see the vibration of a string. Vibration of a string. So you have seen these strings in case of the musical instruments, and so in that case let this is a string, so which is in tension. So let T is the tension in the spring. I can take a small element of that spring, let dx is the small element of that string. So this is the small element I have taken. So as I am taking it a small element, I can tell that the tension in both the sides, I can tell this tension in both the side same. So let the tension is T here and the tension is T here. So the slope is here theta. So, I can write the slope here theta plus del theta by del x into dx. So, I have taken a small distance or small elemental length of the system as dx. So, in the string which is subjected to tension in both the sides, I can take a small elemental string and I can write the equation motion, or I have to find the equation motion of this system. So, in this case, let u is the deflection at this end. So, if u is the deflection at this end, I can write this deflection. So, this is the deflection. So, I can write this deflection is a function of x and t. So, it is a function of x and t. So, to apply the Newton's second law of motion to find the equation motion, in this case I can equate the forces. Let me take the coordinate system like this. So, this is the x coordinate, this is the y coordinate. So, I can write the equation motion by equating the forces in the y direction, because in the x direction I can assume the forces are same. So, in the y direction the forces will be T into, so it will have a component along this direction, and this side it will have a component along this direction. So, this force, this component in the right side, the component equal to T sine of this angle. So, this angle is theta plus del theta by del x into dx, and in the left side, it is equal to T into sine theta. So, T into sine theta. So, as theta is small, so I can write it equal to T theta, and this side it becomes T into theta plus del theta by del x into dx. So, the net force acting on this element will be the difference between T into theta plus del theta by del x into dx minus T into theta. So, this force will be equal to the inertia force of the system. The inertia force of the system will be equal to mass into acceleration of the system. As we have taken u is the displacement of that element. So, the acceleration will be mass of that element into the acceleration of that element. So, mass of this element, let m is the mass per unit length of the string. So, if m is the mass per unit length of the string, mass per unit length of the string. So, in that case the mass, elemental mass will be equal to m dx. So, this is the elemental mass of the string, and I can write the acceleration as del square u by del t square. As already you know that this u is a function of x and t. So, the derivative with respect to t, that thing we can write as a partial derivative. So, this becomes m dx into del square u by del t square. This is the mass into acceleration. So, this will be equal to net force in this vertical direction. So, net force in the vertical direction equal to T into sine theta plus del theta by del x into dx. As I am taking this theta plus del theta by del x dx, this angle to be small. So, I can write this equal to T into, so this becomes T into theta plus del theta by del x into dx minus T theta. So, I can simplify this thing. So, this becomes T theta plus T into del theta by del x into dx minus T theta. So, this T theta cancel. So, you can write this equal to, and this dx also cancel. So, I can write m del square u by del t square equal to T into del theta by del x. But what is this x? X, the slope at this point is nothing but this is the differential of this deflection at that point. So, deflection is u. So, the slope will be equal to del slope theta will be equal to, so slope theta I can write this is equal to del u by del x. So, as slope theta equal to del u by del x. So, I can write this expression m del square u by del t square equal to t into del theta by del x as, so m del square u by del t square will be equal to, so this will be equal to t into del by del x for theta I will write it is equal to del u by del x. So now I can write this equation in this form. So m del square u by del t square equal to t into del square u by del x square, or I can write this equation as del square u by del t square equal to t by m del square u by del x square, or this equation also can be written in this form. So it can be written as del square u by del t square equal to c square into del square u by del x square. This is a famous equation and it is known as the wave equation. So you can see, or you have now learned the equation motion of the transverse vibration of a string can be written in terms of del square u by del t square equal to c square del square u by del x square. And in this case the boundary conditions we will discuss it later, and before that let us find the equation motion for similar types of system. Let us see the longitudinal vibration of a rod. So in case of longitudinal vibration of a rod, so the rod is subjected, so this is a rod, let me draw a rod. So this rod is subjected to a, let it is subjected to a force F. So I can take a small elemental length dx here. So by taking a small elemental length dx I can study the longitudinal vibration of the rod. So in case of longitudinal vibration of the rod will vibrate along the vibration of the rod will takes place along the length of the rod. So in this case I can find the equation motion. So let me take the small element dx. So in the small element I can, which is at a distance x from this fixed end. So let it is at a distance x from the fixed end. So in this case I can write the forces acting on this like this. So this is the small elemental length and the forces acting are, so this side let me apply the force P, and this side the force will be P plus del P by del x into dx. So this is the force acting here, and also if I am assuming the displacement to be x, displacement to be u in the side. So the displacement in this side, longitudinal displacement in this side I can write equal to u plus del u by del x into dx. So the strain of this section will becomes due to this vibration, the strain in this section will be equal to del u by del x. So the strain is del u by del x. So I can write this P or the stress, P by A is the stress. So the stress by strain equal to E. So I can write the stress equal to E into strain, that is equal to del u by del x. Now to apply this second law of Newton's second law, I can find or I can write the inertia force equal to the net external force acting on this section. The forces acting on the section are in the right side P plus del P by del x into dx, and in the left side it is P. So I can equate the force and I can write this force equal to this inertia force. And if I will take similar to the previous case, if I will take, let m is the mass per unit length of this. So mass per unit length. So in this case, so I can write mass, so I can write m into dx. So this is the mass of that element into del square u by del T square. So, this is the mass into acceleration, that is the force. So, this will be equal to the net force acting on the system. So, this will be equal to P plus. So, P plus del P by del x, P plus del P by del x into dx minus P. So, this will be equal to del P by del x into dx. So, I can write this equation in this form. So, this mass I can write rho. Okay. So, this thing mass I will write mass of this element will be equal to rho into A. So, this is rho A into dx, where rho is the density. So, rho A dx into del square u by del T square equal to del P by del x into dx. So, I can cancel this dx from the both side. So, the equations is reduced to rho A del square u by del T square equal to, this is equal to del P by del x, del P by del x. But so, this P we have found equal to E A del u by del x, where E is the Young's modulus, A is the area of cross section, and this del u by del x is the strain, where u is the displacement at a distance x. So, this is the longitudinal vibration of this rod we are finding. So, I can write substituting this P equal to E A del u by del x. So, I can write rho A del square u by del T square equal to del by del x of E A del u by del x. So, if the rod has uniform cross section, I can write, or okay. So, if the rod has uniform cross section and it is a homogeneous rod, then I can write this E is constant and A is constant. So, if it is not homogeneous, then E is not constant, and if the area is or the cross section is not uniform, then I cannot take this A as constant, and I will write, this is the equation of the system. But when E and A are constant, that means area of cross section is constant, that is you are taking a rod of uniform cross section and it is a homogeneous beam where E is constant, then I will take this equation like this, rho A del square u by del x square equal to, so this will be equal to E A in del square u by, so this is del square u by del T square, it is equal to del square u by del x square. Del square u by del T square is the acceleration, rho A is the mass. So, mass into acceleration, this is the inertia force or the force acting on the system. So, this will be equal to E A del square u by del x square, or the same equation you can write in this form. So, that is del square u by del T square equal to E A by rho A into del square u by del x square. So, in this case also by substituting this E A by rho A, so that is equal to E by rho, I can write del square u by del T square equal to E by rho del square u by del x square. So, this is the equation of the longitudinal vibration of a rod. So, this equation also I can write in this form by substituting this E by rho as c square, let c square equal to E by rho. So, this equation will becomes del square u by del T square, del square u by del T square equal to c square into del square u by del x square. So, this equation already you have derived in case of the transverse vibration of a string. So, in case of transverse vibration of the string also you have found the same equation where the c square was equal to T by m, but in this case, in case of this longitudinal vibration of this rod, c square becomes T by E by rho. So, this is also the wave equation. So, in both the cases you have seen the equation motion reduces to that of the wave equation. Later we will see how to find the response of the system from this wave equation. So, let us now see the other condition or other systems. So, in case of a torsional vibration of a shaft, so let us derive the equation for the torsional vibration of a shaft. So, in case of a shaft, so this is a shaft, already you have seen this rod, or this is a shaft which can rotate about its longitudinal axis. So, in this case, when it is rotating or when it is coupled at the both the ends, it may be subjected to some torque, and in case it is subjected to torsion, already you know the equation for the torsional vibration of torsion in case of pure torsion. So, in case of pure torsion, you know the formula, the well known formula, that is equal to T by J equal to G theta by. So, you know this formula, T by, this is the polar moment, the torque applied. So, if you have a shaft subjected to the torque, so let it is subjected to a torque. So, when it is subjected to a torque, so let it is subjected to a torque like this, and this end let me fix it. So, it is subjected to a torque T, then you can write this T by J equal to C or G theta by L equal to tau by R. So, where T is the applied torque, J is the polar moment of inertia of the cross section, and G is the modulus, rigidity modulus, and theta is the rotation. So, let it as a rotation theta, and L is the length of this beam or rod or the shaft, and tau is the shear stress, and R is the radius of this shaft. So, if I will take a small sections from the shaft to derive the equation motion, I can take a small section of the shaft and I have to find the torsional vibration of the shaft. So, let me take a small section of the shaft. So, in the small section, so this is a small section I have taken. So, in the small section it is subjected to a torque. So, this side if the torque is T, so this side the torque I can write, let this side the torque is T. So, this side the torque will be T plus del T by del X into dx, because I have taken an elemental length of dx. So, taking an elemental length of dx, let us derive the equation motion for the case of the torsional vibration of this shaft. So, in the left side the torque I am writing equal to T, and in the right side the torque equal to T plus del T by del X into dx. Similarly, I can write this theta. So, this side the displacement is theta, or I can write this equation motion by using this Newton's second law. So, by applying Newton's second law, I can write for this elemental length dx, the inertia force or inertia torque equal to inertia moment of inertia into theta double dot, that is let theta is the displacement or rotation of the shaft. So, the inertia force will be equal to rho. So, I can write this is equal to rho into J into del square theta by del T square. So, this is the inertia torque. So, this inertia torque will be equal to, so this inertia torque will be equal to T plus del T by del X into dx. So, this is the torque in the right side minus the torque in the left side. So, this equal to T. So, this becomes del T by del X into dx. But already we know that this T can be written as, so from this previous. So, if I will take a elemental length dx, then this T I can write equal to, so it will be written as G J del theta by del X, del theta by del X. So, del theta is the deformation or change in theta. So, this T can be written like, so I have written this T for this elemental length, T will be equal to G j del theta by del x. So, substituting this equation here, so I can write rho j del square theta by del t square, rho j del square theta by del t square. So, this will be equal to so here I have taken an elemental length of dx, and so here rho j into dx, rho j is the moment of inertia per unit length, and when I am multiplying these things, so this is the mass moment of inertia for this small elemental length, and it is multiplied by del square theta by del t square. This is giving the total inertia torque. Okay. So, now taking this total inertia torque equal to the torque at the right side minus the torque at the left side. So, then I can write into dx. So, this will become d by dx, d by dx of, for t I will substitute. So, the expression for t g j del theta by del x, I will substitute this. So, this is g j del theta by del x into dx. So, this dx cancel. So, I can write this rho j del square theta by del t square equal to g j del square theta by del x square, or I can write this del square theta by del t square, this is equal to g j by rho j, g j by rho j del square theta by del x square. So, I can write this del, so j j get cancelled. So, del square theta by del t square, I can write this equal to g by rho, where rho is the mass density. So, g by rho into del square theta by del x square. So, in this case also I can write this equation in this form, del square theta by del t square equal to c square del square theta by del x square. So, in this case you can note the c square equal to g by rho. So, in this way you can, or you have derived the equation motion of the one dimensional vibration of string. So, for the string you have found the equation motion, and for, so this is transverse vibration of string, and then longitudinal vibration of rod, and this torsional vibration of shaft. So, in these three cases you have found the equation motion to be of the same type, where you can write the equation motion in this form, del square u by del t square equal to c square del square u by del x square, which is known as the wave equation. So, this equation is known as the wave equation, and now we are going to find the response of the system from this wave equation. So, before proceeding further, so you should know that the response of the system will depend on the boundary conditions of the system. In case of a string, it will depend how the ends are fixed. In case of the rods and in case of the shaft also, it will depends how the end conditions are there. So, in case of the longitudinal vibration of rod, let us see what are the boundary condition. So, in case of longitudinal vibration of rod, so let us see the left end. So, we will consider different cases. So, boundary at the left end, let us see at left, and boundary at the right. So, let us see the different types of boundary conditions. So, let the rod is free. So, if the rod is free, that means it is not supported at the ends, then the boundary conditions will be, so at the left end that is x equal to 0, at the right end that is x equal to L. So, you can write if it is free at this end, then this theta or the slope at the ends will be equal to 0, that means del u by del x will be equal to 0. Similarly, at the right also you will have del u by del x equal to 0. So, let us take the case when it is fixed at the left end or when it is fixed. So, if the end condition is fixed, then the displacement at this end will be equal to 0. So, the longitudinal vibration or the displacement at the end will be equal to 0, that means u 0 t, u at position x equal to 0 for any times t will be equal to 0. Similarly, at the right end also u L t will be equal to 0, and if the end, let the end is spring loaded. So, let us put a spring at the left end in case of the longitudinal vibration of the rod, that means when the rod is vibrating along its length, let us put a spring k at the left end or right end. So, if we are putting a spring at the end, then the force exerted by the spring will be equal to the force given by this rod. So, you know the displacement at this position equal to, at the left end the strain will be equal to del u by del x. So, the stress will be equal to E multiplied by del u by del x, and the force at the left end P will be equal to, so E A del u by del x. So, this E A del u by del x will be equal to the spring force. Let me explain you again. So, in the longitudinal vibration of the rod is having a displacement u along this. So, at the left end, if as it has a displacement of u, so the strain will be del u by del x is the strain at this end. So, if you multiply this by E, this is the stress. So, stress multiplied by area of cross section at this end, this will give the force, and this force will be equal to the spring force at this end. So, spring force at the displacement is u, the spring force will be equal to k u. So, the spring force will be equal to E A by del u by del x. So, at the left end, so k u will be equal to E A del u by del x, and in the right end, so this E A del u by del x will be equal to minus k u. So, at left end I can write this E A del u by del x, E A del u by del x will be equal to k u, and in the right end it will be equal to E A del u by del x equal to minus k u. Similarly, if the end condition, in the end let us put a mass at the end. So, in case of this, let us put a mass. So, we are considering 3 cases. So, this is the case, and this is x equal to 0, boundary condition at x equal to 0, and boundary condition at x equal to L. So, if we are putting an end mass at this end, so let this mass is m. If we are putting a mass m at the left end, so the force E A del u by del x, so this force will be equal to the inertia force in this case. So, the inertia force equal to m del square u by del t square. So, this will be equal to E A del u by del x. So, the force at this point, that is equal to E A del u by del x, will be equal to m del square u by del t square. So, at the right end, so this E A del u by del x, that is the force at the right end, should be equal to the inertia force, but the negative of that. So, m, so it will be minus m del square u by del t square. So, instead of putting a mass, if we put a end damper, so let us put a end damper at this end. So, if we are putting a damper at this end, so this damper is connected to this rod, or the rod in longitudinal vibration, a damper is connected at this end. So, in that case, the force E A del u by del x will be equal to the damping force. the damping force if this point has a displacement of u, let C is the damping coefficient. So, then the damping force will be equal to C u dot. So, the C u dot will be equal to E A del u by del x. So, I can write at x equal to L, this E A del u by del x will be equal to C u dot. Similarly, in the right end it will be equal to E A del u by del x will be equal to minus C u dot. So, these are the boundary conditions in case of a longitudinal vibration of a rod. Similarly, we can write the boundary conditions for the torsional vibration of a rod. Torsional vibration, in case of torsional vibration of a rod, so we can write similarly the cases, then the boundary condition at the left end. So, boundary conditions at x equal to 0. So, this is left end, and boundary conditions at x equal to L, that is the right end. So, in this case we can take the free. So, we can take a rod with free at both the ends. So, in this case, so the example is the spacecraft or the aeroplane. So, you can there when it is flying in the air, so no ends is supported, so it may rotate about its own axis. So, in that case it can be considered as the rotation of the rod or rotation of the free rod. So, in this case as both ends are free, so we can write the boundary conditions like this. So, we will have the slope at both the ends will be equal to 0 or del theta by del x equal to 0 at left end. Similarly, del theta, the rotation rate of rotation at this end, both the ends will be equal to 0. So, if it is fixed, so in case of a fixed rod, so if the rod is fixed, so in that case, so if the rod is fixed, so one end, so let the rod is fixed at the left end. So, in that case the displacement will be 0, that is the rotation will be 0 when it is fixed at the left end, the rotation will be 0. So, this rotation, so I can write theta x t equal to 0 in this case. Similarly, at the right end if it is fixed, so I will write, if the right end is fixed, so then it will be theta L t will be equal to 0. So, this is free boundary condition and this is fixed boundary condition. Similarly, I can have other boundary conditions. Let me put some string, so or spring, let me put a torsional. So, if I will put a torsional spring with stiffness k, so in this case the force at this or torque at the left end will be balanced by the torsional spring or the force exerted by this torsional spring. The force exerted by the torsional spring will be equal to k theta, and the force at this end due to this rotation or due to this torque can be written. So, this will be equal to, so this torque expression already you know, so that is equal to g j del theta by del x. So, g j del theta by del x will be equal to k theta. Similarly, in the right end, so this will be replaced by this minus k theta. So, g j del theta by del x will be equal to minus k theta. And so, let us see the other boundary conditions. So, the other boundary condition at x equal to 0 and x equal to L we have to see. So, in the case when it is subjected or when a mass is attached, or in the rod let us attach one flywheel at the left end or at the right end. So, if inertia is added, so inertia, let the inertia J p is added to the left end. So, if I am adding an inertia J p at the left end, then this torque at the left end, that is equal to J g del theta by del x. So, that inertia, So this torque will be equal to the inertia torque. So inertia torque will be equal to Jp into del square theta by del t square. So similarly in the right side it will be Jg del theta by del x will be equal to minus Jp del square theta by del t square. Similarly, if we add one damper, torsional damper at the left end or right end, so let this is a torsional damper. So in case of a torsional damper, I can put a torsional damper like this. So this is the rod where a torsional damper is attached here. So in case of a torsional damper with damping coefficient C, so this will be equal to C del theta by dt. So C del theta by dt will be the damping force. So the force at the left end, that is equal to J g del theta by del x. So this will be equal to C del theta by del t. Similarly in the right end it will be equal to J g del theta by del x equal to, so this will be equal to minus C del theta by del x, del theta by del t. So you can see the boundary conditions what we have found in the left end. By putting one negative sign we are getting the boundary condition at the right end. So in this way, by using these boundary conditions and the equation motion, we will find the response of the system. So next class we will study to determine the equation motion by using extended Hamilton principle and to study the transverse vibration of the beam.